Chapter 5. The pain. I see a light at the end of the tunnel. The pain keeps me from going forward.
Sun Princess is also drama queen. Schwarzwalder did not know this. Schwarzwalder will be sure to bow twice next time we meet.
Luna anxiously followed the trainer, her worried gaze never leaving Celestia's prone form. The goddess had been unceremoniously flung onto the stallion's back, unable to walk, let alone move. No doubt all of Canterlot was laughing their pedigree plots off right now at their goddess's expense. Upon Luna's back sat the massive set of weights that had defeated Celestia, a present from the ever-considerate Schwarzwalder to help Celestia train when he wasn't around. Yet the goddess of the night was carrying them along without so much as a sweat, though she did have trouble keeping pace with Schwarzwalder's long strides. "Ow! Ow!" Celestia murmured, her eyes squeezed shut as Schwarzwalder handled her none too gently. Each step of Schwarzwalder's hoof sent a twinge of discomfort through her prone frame. "Ow! Ow!" "What's wrong with her?" Luna asked, trying to keep pace with the giant. "Will she be okay?"
Sun Princess will be fine. What Princess is feeling is lactic acid built up in her muscles. Sleep and rest good. By tomorrow, soreness will be gone.
"Ow! Ow! Ow!" The red giant turned his head to look at the princess on his back as he lumbered down the hallway.
Baby Princess should stop whining. Schwarzwalder knows Princess is stronger than this.
"Those piranhas had dentures. Metal dentures. Where does a fish even find a dentist for that?"
"Bah! Those fish give Princess love bites. Fish find Princess very attractive. Very easy. But wait till Princess sees sea bass from Austria. We work with them tomorrow."
A look of relief adorned Luna's face. She gently stroked her hoof along her sister's back in a vain attempt to comfort the sun goddess. Celestia cringed under Luna's hoof, and the moon goddess whispered an apology. "That seems like an easier challenge for mine sister." Schwarzwald gave a mirthless smile.
"Sea bass are from where Chernobyl went kablooey."
Luna froze in her tracks. "I'm afraid to ask, but what—"
"They are very tenacious," Schwarzwalder finished for her, "and they taste delicious."
Luna appeared absolutely mortified when a look of disgust crossed Celestia's face, and the goddess struggled to get off the stallion's back. The very thought of a pony eating any sort of creature turned their stomach. Celestia pressed a hoof to her mouth, struggling to keep down what little she had in her gut. Schwarzwalder stared blankly at them for a few seconds until the hamster in his brain decided to come back from break and resume its jog. He suddenly looked as appalled as they did.
"Not that Schwarzwalder would know personally,"
the pony quickly explained.
"Schwarzwalder has never tried. Griffin friend at old job in Austria. They speak of fish. Schwarzwalder only eats the hay."
"Is it also from near Chernobyl?" Celestia asked dryly. The red giant grinned and nodded.
"Even more ill-tempered. He likes to bite back, like Austrian sharks, except without the magic."
Celestia decided that if she could get away with it this year, she would try to embezzle funds from the Grand Galloping Gala budget in favor of a construction project. After all, what pony in their right mind would waste bits on diamond-encrusted napkins when they could be used to build a nice thick wall around the province of Austria?
"This is where Schwarzwalder drops you off,"
Schwarzwalder said abruptly. Celestia had managed to lift her head off his side to see that they had arrived in front of their bedroom door. With a moan, Celestia slid off the stallion's back without so much as a "thank you," and threw the doors to her room open, shakily bolting inside. Luna carefully levitated the barbell off of her back, setting it down gently onto the plush carpet. "I found that surprising as well. I'll have to talk to her about it. Thank thee for thine time today."
"Is no problem. Is what Schwarzwalder does," the trainer rumbled respectively. "Now to come up with new regiment for tomorrow, and to apologize to Slender for floor."
Luna gave the giant a wry smile. "The royal treasury will take care of the damages. I have a feeling this will only be the first of many." The two bid each other good night, and Luna couldn't help but stare after Schwarzwalder as the stallion lumbered down the hallway. She wondered if he had any boasts of slaying manticores. Luna sighed as she shut the door with her magic. Those days were long past for her. She then turned back to her sister. Celestia had just barely managed to drag herself over to her ornate bed, and now laid upon it. Her eyes seemed to be glazed over as she stared up at the ceiling, relishing in the comfort of her soft mattress. Somewhere in the time Luna had spoken with Schwarzwalder, Celestia's hair, which bards had written poems on, had deflated back into the muted pink strands Luna was so familiar with. They hung limply around the white alicorn's face. Luna climbed onto the bed with her sister and rested her chin on one of her hooves. She idly traced circles into the silk sheets with the other, avoiding her sister's eyes. Luna had never seen her sister this tired. Well, that wasn't entirely true. There was the one time the two sisters had been forced to carry the weight of the sky. But that was another story for another time. So, about today, Luna began nervously. "How can you possibly lift that thing?" Celestia asked, her eyes still not in the present. Luna gave a look over to where the barbell sat in the corner. It lay against the plush carpet harmlessly like a child's toy. Luna gestured towards it. "How couldst thou not?" "Luna, that thing nearly broke my back. 'Tis but iron, weak metal cut from the earth's womb and smelted by mortal hooves. How could it possibly best thee?" "It's heavy." Luna shook her head in disbelief. "Dia, thou hast worn battle armor that weighed nearly thrice its load. Thou hast collapsed mountains onto the heads of dragons. How canst thou consider such a weight to be heavy?" "That was then, this is now," Celestia grunted. "All right, how did you stay in shape on the moon?" "I spent every waking moment of my time in exile preparing both my mind and body for inevitable and glorious combat with thee. I felt assured that thou would do the same, especially since thou had a millennium to prepare for my return. What did thou do, Celestia?" "Well, see, about that." 50 years ago. "Here it is, your majesty." The archaeologist beamed as his assistant wheeled the covered display in front of the princess. "It took us almost a year, but we were finally able to override the arcane seals and recover your blessed armor from the ruins of the Everfree." With as much flourish as a magician, the archaeologist Digsight gripped the sheet with his teeth and unveiled his discovery. Celestia rose from her throne and trotted over to the display case. Held within was one of Equestria's earliest creations. It was a suit of armor designed to be worn by Equestria's sole solar princess. Celestia had been amused by the gift, something that the Arcana Council had forged centuries ago, but never thought she would need to actually put into practical use. Celestia pressed her hoof against the glass, the condensation of her breath fogging up the glass ever so slightly. It was beautiful, as it was deadly. Forged out of enchanted red gold, the metal seemed to burn with all of the warmth of summer. Celestia could not help but marvel at the fine, almost invisible and impossibly small runes etched along the metal seams. Celestia found herself silently mouthing the old tongue as she read the wide variety of incantations. She let a single tear roll down her cheek in remembrance of the ponies who had spent almost a decade forging and enchanting this armor. She had laughed good-naturedly at it then. There were precious few things that could possibly hurt an alicorn, and with all of the power of the sun itself at her disposal, even less that could pose even the slightest danger to her. A suit of armor for the princess, no matter how well forged, had seemed like giving an extra set of wings to a Pegasi, completely unneeded. Celestia desperately wished she had a chance to go back and thank those ponies one last time. The armor had saved her life in the battle against Nightmare Moon, especially after Luna had crafted her own, using darker enchantment to enhance the armor. She would need it soon for one final battle. Celestia turned her head to look at Digsight. "Open it." The moment the key had turned into place, the princess's magic took hold. The case flew open, and with it came the armor. Pieces of plate mail began to hover around her as she strapped on the under-harness with her telekinesis. One by one, each piece snapped into the harness, interlocking with every other piece. The guards around Celestia marveled in awe of her sight of their now warrior princess. Some even covered their eyes from the blinding glow. Even Captain McApple, the sturdy young soldier who seemed to the princess's new confidant, let his ever-present monocle drop from his eye. This was not the same pony who had spent hours with the bickering nobles with a smile on her face. This was a deity from time before legend, a golden centurion from an age long past. "I desire to spar, guards. To the courtyard." Celestia's strained voice came from within the armor. It sounded as though she was in great discomfort. "Your Highness, is everything all right?" McApple asked, a small frown crossing his face. The golden princess stiffly nodded. "Just dandy. Fits like a glove." "Well, all right then," McApple said with a weak smile. He then turned his gaze onto the soldiers standing at attention. "All right now, stallions, up to," McApple ordered. "Fall into line, silence in the ranks, about face, company march into the sunset, what? Left, right, left, right," he continued. As the soldiers filed out of the throne room, McApple turned back to the princess, who had remained motionless. Forgive me for asking, Your Majesty, but aren't you coming?" "I'll be right there," came the high-pitched voice of Princess Celestia. Some of the Pegasi soldiers exchanged glances, confusion crossing their faces. There was the groan and squeak of metal against metal. "Princess, I can't move," Celestia gasped as she attempted to lift the leg of the sardine can she was in. "Can't breathe." Slowly, little by little, McApple watched as the golden goddess lifted her magnificent hoof off of the palace's tile flooring. "Ha! Success!" Celestia cried as she managed to place it forward. There was another sudden groan from the armor. Celestia somehow managed to lower her head to look down at herself. The bolts securing the armor were rattling in place. Uh-oh. When McApple recounted the story to his grandfoals years later, he boasted that it was the years of hard training in Her Majesty's service, learning to dodge lemon meringue pies, that gave him the swift reflexes that saved his life. In reality, it was more than likely dumb luck. "Hit the deck!" the officer shouted as he dove for the floor. He had just managed to cover his face with his hooves and fold back his wings before he encountered his first brush with death. As if some pony had pressed a detonator, the armor had suddenly turned into a weapon. With hundreds of tiny pings, the golden bolts and screws that had held together the armor plating shot out of their casings, finally free of the built-up pressure. Bits of metal shot in all directions, and ponies just barely managed to leap out of the way in time as the shrapnel flew by them. Professor Digsight himself dove behind the display case as a line of bolts came flying his way. Celestia sighed and took the golden helmet off her head, shaking her frizzled hair out of her eyes. She gave a half-hearted kick at a leg brace before giving a very shaky Professor Digsight a hopeful look. "You didn't happen to find one of these in an extra large, did you?" Celestia gave the matter careful thought. "Several centuries of pampering might have done me in," Celestia admitted charily. Luna pressed her hoof to her face and shook her head in disbelief. "Tia." "Well, a millennium was a really long time. I thought it didn't matter when I got in shape, so long as I was ready for Nightmare Moon's return," Celestia said defensively, her cheeks turning red. "So thou'st decided that instead of meeting me in open combat, thou would use the elements of harmony against me?" "Sure, let's go with that." A glare from Luna demanded further explanation. "They weren't my first plan due to their previous history," Celestia explained with a tinge of regret in her voice. "But yes, that was the route I ended up going for in the end. I had other things in place, just to be safe, of course." "So that explains thine absence at the summer sun celebration upon my return? Thou was preparing another one of these plans had thy student failed?" Celestia laid back, snuggling into her pillow with a silly grin stretched over her lips. "Well, not exactly." Princess Celestia, matron of Equestria and regent of Sun, said with a giggle, "See, there was this new guard who they just induced into the ranks, so I was kind of busy with his glazing ritual." "Surely thou means hazing ritual." Celestia licked her lips, her cheeks rosy with the memory. "He was like a fresh donut." Luna pressed her hooves to her ears, turning her eyes up to the ceiling. "I don't need to hear this, la 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 la." And there were sprinkles everywhere. La 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 la. Cream filling right up. "I'm not listening to you at all, Altia." Celestia burst out laughing at her sister's antics, holding her sides to keep her sore body from shaking. She wiped a tear from her eye. She hadn't even gotten to the best part where... Celestia's stomach rumbled, yowling inside of her. "Luna," Celestia said with sudden seriousness, "I want to go get donuts." The Night Princess pulled her hooves from her ears, looking at her sister's face. There was no mirth, no amorous playfulness, or any devilish smile, only complete earnestness. "Right now?" Luna asked. "Yes, Luna, right now. Celestia, everywhere is closed." I know they're closed, and I know I'm not supposed to have any, but I really, really want a donut." "Then just call one of your servants to go make you one." Celestia pressed her hooves against the mattress of the bed and sat up, her pink hair blocking her eyes from Luna's view. "You know that's not going to work." "Won't work because of them, or because thou won't let thyself go about this entire deal like a sane pony?" "Celestia, thou is torturing thyself for no reason." "Luna, I already explained." Luna's horn shone brightly for a moment before something fizzled and sparked into existence in front of the sisters. The blue alicorn caught it before it could fall onto the bed and held it out to her sister. "I know I'm not supposed to be giving thee this, but I talked with Chef Ramsay earlier today, and we both agreed that this entire diet is a stupid idea, and thou really looks like thou needs this right now." Celestia's magenta eyes watered at the sight of the object in Luna's hooves. It was a milkshake. With shaky hooves, Celestia took the sugary drink from her sister. It was taking every ounce of her willpower to keep from instantly diving in. The sun goddess slowly raised the straw to her lips. She stopped it only a few centimeters away and gave a worried look to her sister. "Luna, I really shouldn't," Celestia began, but Luna raised a hoof, cutting her off. "Thou hast to work hard today, sister, and thou needs the energy. I won't tell any pony if thou don't." Celestia looked back down at the drink, feeling her heart tightening in her chest. This diet was necessary. She couldn't stray from it. "Luna has a point. You need this energy. But if any of the servants found out about this, then Feather Duster would find out. And if Feather Duster found out, then—" "No pony is ever going to find out. Luna isn't going to tell anyone." Celestia began to count all the calories in her head this one cup contained. How long would she have to run to work all of them off? How many pounds of fat would this single drink put on her flanks? Just one milkshake can't hurt. Wasn't it better that she just dealt with this entire thing now? There would be plenty of milkshakes once she was thin again. One smooth, icy, sweet milkshake. "Thank you, Luna," Celestia whispered, and the smile her sister gave in return melted the sun goddess's heart. Celestia felt an overwhelming sense of love and compassion towards her sister. Luna was a savior, a hero, a paragon of all things virtuous. Warmth filled Celestia's chest as she knew that Luna cared deeply about her needs. Luna truly was the only one in this whole wide world who truly understood her. Celestia smiled broadly at the blue alley-corn in front of her and took a long draw on the straw. Best sister ever. Luna gasped in shock as Celestia spat out a spray of thick green something onto her face. "Oh, this is disgusting," Celestia screamed, rubbing at her tongue. "Ugh, I can't get the flavor off of my tongue. I thought you said this was a milkshake." "It is. Head Chef Ramsay made it himself for thee," Luna shrieked, magicking a towel in existence to wipe off her face. "What the heck is in it? Vomit?" "I believe he said it was broccoli, alfalfa, green peppers, garlic, tomato, cinnamons, carrots, and kale. It's supposed to be a vegetable milkshake," Luna recited, thinking back on what the chef had told her. "Why? What's wrong with it?" "Oh my God, Luna, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever tasted."
5 minutes ago in the royal kitchens.
Chef Ramsay gave a critical eye on the target in front of him. The sheep's beady eyes were narrowed at his prey. They briefly flickered to the motionless doors of the kitchen, as if daring them to open, before returning to their solemn vigil. Behind the head chef stood the entire staff of the royal kitchen, patiently standing at attention. More than one pony had held their breath as the seconds slowly ticked by. Even at this late hour, they dared not step away for one moment. Cooking utensils were kept close at hoof. Stoves remained lit. They were chefs, and as chefs they would be ready for anything. The minute hand leapt forward. It was 10 p.m. Chef Ramsay smiled and took off his poofy hat. "All right, lads, time to wrap it up for the night." There was a collective breath of relief from all the kitchens. The royal kitchens were finally closed for the night, and would be maintained by a small night crew until morning. It was time to go home. Amiable chatter began to pick up amongst the chefs as ingredients were carefully stored away and the royal pantries secured. One by one, ponies of all ages and genders made their way for the swinging doors of the kitchen. The closest, an orange filly by the name of Pumpkin Spice, reached out her hoof to open them. "Hold on a minute. I have something important I need to tell y'all." Pumpkin squeezed her eyes shut and groaned inwardly to herself. Freedom was so close. Maybe if she was quick, she could sneak out. Pumpkin turned around and trotted back to Chef Ramsay with a spring in her step. Self-preservation had won over freedom. She had no desire to be made into a pie today. Chef Ramsay gave each of the cooks gathered around him a good long look over. It was time to break the news. "To begin with, a couple of announcements," the sheep said as he produced a notepad from somewhere on his woolly body. He flipped it open with a cloven hoof and peered closely. "First on my list, I'd like to wish a canty birthday to our own French loaf from the pastry department." Congratulations and well wishes sprung up directed to the young stallion, who smiled as the chef acknowledged him. "Yes, congratulations, you're not a year closer to being cut into grill, laddie," Ramsay muttered as he turned the page. "I'd also like to warn you in advance, and due to time constraints, our weekly disco competition this Friday will have to be cancelled." This elicited a series of silent groans and disappointed looks from the surrounding ponies, and Pumpkin Spice swore under her breath. She had been looking forward to that. "Keep your hooves on, you stutting bucktooth crybabies. There's ours next week. Nay, and I expect on you to actually win against me." Ramsay leered good-naturedly. He flipped another page in the notebook as the cooks chuckled amongst themselves. Chef Ramsay was a chef who boasted almost godlike skills in the kitchen. The same could not be said for his dancing skills. Ramsay trailed off as he read the final bit in his notebook. He sighed and gently closed it, placing the book back inside his wool. "Let's get something straight, lads and lasses. I'm no good at speeches, so I'll cut straight to the point. You're aware Operation Drop has gone into motion, and until Princess Celestia gives us the green light." Here Chef Ramsay shot a glare to the ceiling lights, as though daring them to go off again. It's your duty to ensure that she is fed nutritional meals to help encourage her weight loss. And I won't bore you. This isn't going to be as easy as baking a cake. A princess is a well-led body. Say we also have to make sure she doesn't enter this kitchen, the sheep roared. Some of the ponies closest to him took a few nervous steps back, if but to put distance between themselves and the chef's indirect anger. You're all good cooks, 'cause if you weren't, I wouldn't be standing here discussing with you, Ramsay hollered. He swung his hoof out, hitting a series of pots and pans to the floor in the process. You're the best of the best, and that's what we can't screw up. A single wayward pastry, one accidental scoop of ice cream, and bam! We're back to square buck in one, and we have to start this ancestor's damned process all over again. One of the pony cooks tentatively raised his hoof. Yes, laddie, speak up now. I'm not gonna tear your head off, you stilton rug. Forgive me for being ignorant on this matter, head chef, the pony quickly said, in an attempt to calm the chef's wrath before it came crashing down. But how can we possibly keep Princess Celestia out of the kitchens? It's not a bad question, laddie. The guard has posted round-the-clock watches outside the doors of the kitchen, and we're going to keep a tight lock and key on the radar. No pony goes in and out we don't know. And tell me, Pumpkin Spice, am I boring ye? Pumpkin Spice gave a small jump as her name was called out, and tried to look as though she had been following along. The truth was she had been in her own thoughts since Ramsay started talking, eagerly just looking forward to going home for the night. No, head chef, Pumpkin stammered out under Chef Ramsay's glare. Oh, good'n. Well, I suppose you can tell the whole class the answer to this question, then. A patron orders a HLT piece, but the kitchen is at the hay. What do you do, lassie? Ramsay sneered icily. Crap, I don't know. I work the garden manager. Politely let the patron know the kitchen is out of hay, and perhaps substitute the hay for Munster cheese? Pumpkin Spice guessed, her heart pounding against her chest. Ramsay smiled. That's the correct answer. Pumpkin felt relief wash over her, her legs threatening to buckle and collapse on the floor. If you work the buckin' bugger creen. Pumpkin felt the blood drain from her face. Ponies around her quietly edged away, leaving the orange filly to face the chef by herself. There was a brief flash of blue magic from behind Chef Ramsay as a tall cup vanished from existence on his station. The cooks in the kitchen knew that glow from anywhere. Princess Luna's magic. So that's your solution to everything, is it? Drench everything in a fancy magical cheese? He asked nastily, his words as sharp as a Ginsu knife. It's as sort of fast food greasemonger and mindset as got us in these situations. Ponies like you don't deserve to be called the royal chef. I'm sorry, Pumpkin spluttered, an impressive feat in itself with a wolf in sheep's wool only feet away. I don't fucking care if you're sorry, you're the bloody queen of Sri Rama. It takes a refined palate to neff off with the hood and the tricks of cheese. Ramsay poked a hoof at her chest. We need to focus on health now. Oh, and there make true gourmet meals again. For our honest. I don't care if you have to beg, borrow, steal, or kill. You will find some back in here and put a note in sandwich. Chef Ramsay trailed off slowly. Something was wrong. His eyes grew wide. Something was very wrong. The sheep suddenly fell back on his rear, his hoofs pressed over his heart. A look of shock passed across his woolly face, and his jaw moved up and down, gaping silently. Ponies worriedly rushed to his side. What's wrong? Somebody call an ambulance. Are you all right? Ramsay angrily pushed them away from him, nonchalantly brushing a stray tear out of his eye. As he did so, Get out of here! I'm bra, you thin-flanked ponies. That's all for the night. Get on home, and I best see you bright and early. Copper Kettle watched the other cooks file out of the kitchen in for the night from his corner. He sighed and dropped another peeled potato into the bucket next to him. What do you think that was about? He asked his companion. Whisk muttered, trying to focus on finishing their nightly punishment as soon as possible. What was that? Whisk spat the paperclip out of his mouth and put his potato down. Tooey, I sense a disturbance in the force, and you know what that means. Paid vacations? boy, I wish. Chapter End.